Study Session 6. Components of Philosophy. Introduction. In this study session, we shall explore topics that are studied under philosophy and philosophy of education and their meanings. These are also called subject matter or components of philosophy. Learning outcome. When you have studied this session, you should be able to outline the scope and branches of philosophy of education. Components of philosophy of education. We shall use a chart to explain the components of philosophy of education. Under the component of philosophy and philosophy of education, we have the metaphysics, epistemology, axiology, and logic. And under metaphysics, we have ontology and cosmology. Axiology has ethics and aesthetics, while logic is divided into deductive and inductive. Let's look at them one after the other. Metaphysics. This comes from the Greek words ta, meta, physica, literally meaning things beyond the physical realm, or things beyond the senses, or beyond man's conception. Etymologically, it is a study of things after the physical world. It is that branch of philosophy which studies things that are beyond mere human conception, such as soul, mind, heaven, hell, spirit. It is a study of reality. Metaphysics is a theory about the nature of man and the nature of the world in which he lives. It raises a lot of questions concerning the nature of man's existence, the purpose of man on earth, the existence of God, where and how soul is located, and so on. Ontology. This is the branch of metaphysics that studies being, and especially nowadays, what there is. It is interested in what is real and the nature of being. Are the trees, the animals we see real, or is there something ultimate beyond them? The answers to these questions form the ontological argument. Cosmology. This is the study of the cosmos or universe. It is interested in the origin, component, and purpose of the universe or world as a whole. It asks such questions as, what is the origin of the universe? Does everything have a cause? Metaphysics asks questions such as, where does man come from? What is the nature of man? Has man a soul? Has he free will, or his acts are determined? Where does he go after death? Does God exist? Is human behavior predetermined, or are humans really free? Epistemology. It is perhaps in the area of epistemology, or the theory of knowledge, that the relevance of philosophy for education, especially for the classroom teaching and learning activities, is most noticeable. Epistemology is derived from the Greek word episteme, meaning knowledge. Epistemology is the theory of language. This branch of philosophy is very relevant to philosophy of education, and especially to the classroom teaching and learning activity. The search for knowledge and the truth is the common task of both education and philosophy, as John Dewey had noted. Epistemology digs into the root of knowledge. It asks such questions as, what do we mean by knowledge itself? And what is it to know something? What are the sources of knowledge? How do we establish that we know when we claim that we know something? Epistemology constitutes a very important component of philosophy of education because education centers its activities on efforts to impart knowledge. And if our knowledge claims are faulty, it follows that we cannot bring about valid knowledge in our students. Teachers in their classrooms impart various types of knowledge according to their disciplines. It will be appropriate for a teacher to know the types and sources of knowledge and how much reliance can be placed on them. Types of knowledge vary with their sources and their method of acquisition and validation. These include 1. Knowledge by acquaintance. This is knowledge through causal physical contact with the object of knowledge. Here, one cannot make a detailed description. It has to be taken with caution or reservation. 2. Knowledge by description. This is through a close contact as a result of which certain level of description of characteristics of the item of knowledge can be rendered. 3. Knowledge through revelation. Knowledge through some divine sources, usually identified with religions. 4. Knowledge through intuition, a sudden, insightful solution to a problem generated from subconscious level of the mind. 5. Knowledge by tenacity. When the knowledge claim had been repeatedly made over time, it might become an article of faith to which claimants cling very strongly. 6. Knowledge through the senses. This is practical knowledge derived from the human perception of sight, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. This is equally referred to as scientific or empirical knowledge. 7. Knowledge through the reason or rational knowledge. This is knowledge acquired through the application of our reasoning and power of inference. It is also referred to as logical knowledge. Criteria of knowledge. Referential or existence. The object of knowledge should have existence or reality. E.g., River Osun has to exist before it can be accepted as a river. Certainty. Certainty is the reliability of the fact or object of knowledge. E.g., I may see you on Sunday, less reliable. I will surely see you on Sunday, has more reliability. Certainty makes knowledge or object real to the knower. Validity. Knowledge has to be valid. It should not be self-contradictory, such as, in Mr. Lawal is a pleasant lady. Veracity. Knowledge expresses truth. It is the inherent truth in knowledge that makes it reliable and certain. If knowledge lacks truth, then it would not be certain and not reliable. The object of knowledge must be verifiable. One basic lesson from the above criteria of knowledge is that we must develop some sense of skepticism or holding back of judgment and be critical of knowledge claims. Knowledge demands evidence. It is tentative as it is open to investigation. Knowledge claims should also be verifiable and should be possible to falsify it with available evidence. It is noteworthy to state that knowledge grows and it is on a continuum. There is no point at which one can claim to possess all the knowledge, and this is one of the lessons of philosophy, the discipline to continue to search for knowledge. Conclusively, we can make a distinction between technical knowledge, know-how, and test statements, or knowing that. While it is easier to verify technical knowledge through demand for demonstration, e.g., I know how to ride a bicycle, taste statements or preferences cannot be so verified. An example is, I know that honesty is the best policy. Knowing how talks about skills, procedures of doing or practicing an activity, e.g., I know how to ride a horse. Knowing that talks about facts, descriptive or logical knowledge. Axiology. There are persons or objects that we admire or cherish. There are things that we like and those we do not like. Most times, we give preference to things or persons over others. This is because we value them more than others. Values imply the worth and appreciation given to a person, thing, idea, and event. A thing has to be valuable for one to desire or cherish it. The component of scope of philosophy concerned with the problem of values as well as criteria for value judgment and conduct is axiology. Axiology is derived from the Greek words axios and logos, meaning theories of values or worth. Axiology is interested in answering questions like, what are values? What is good or bad? Which human conduct is acceptable? How do we appreciate art or beauty? What is beauty? Can values be ranked? Are values subjective or objective? Why do we value one thing more than others? And so on. Axiology as a theory of values has its areas of inquiry divided into two, namely ethics and aesthetics. Ethics is concerned with morality or human conduct, while the area of concern of aesthetics is beauty. We always want to distinguish right from wrong, good from bad, what we ought to do from what we ought not to do. This is the concern of ethics. Ethics does not apply to everything that exists, but applies only to man. It applies to every aspect of man's life, his or her actions, habits, desires, and relationship with others. The basis for making ethical judgments is a difficult one because people have different notions about what makes up a good or bad behavior. Even among societies, what is taken to be good in one might be condemned in another. Now let us look at aesthetics. Aesthetics is the study of values in relation to beauty. It examines the nature, source of art in human experience, the standard of judging art, and its effect in the environment. Aesthetic values are likely to be subjective and personal. For example, different people could appreciate a particular work of art differently. You are aware of the proverb, one man's meat is another man's poison. This implies that what is seen as beautiful by one person might not be classified as such by another person. Beauty could be judged by using criteria said to be authoritative, with the claim that any work of art that is scored low with these criteria will not be generally accepted. But the problem is that even professional critics may differ widely in their evaluation since beauty is said to be in the eyes of the beholder. Logic. Logic is derived from the Greek word logikos, which means has something to do with reason. Logic is a branch of philosophy which is concerned with the coherence and consistency of reasoning. Sometimes we describe some argument as being logical. This is because we believe that these arguments follow the order of coherence and consistency. Logic has been described as the prince of philosophy. This is because logical thinking is an important tool in philosophy. Logic studies the ideal method in the techniques of reasoning. It asks questions such as, what is correct reasoning? What distinguishes a good argument from a bad one? Are there ways of detecting fallacies in reasoning? And if so, where are they? Logical arguments could be deductive or inductive, that is, reasoning from general to particular or from particular to general perspective. Study session summary. In this study session, we focus on the components of philosophy, which are essentially the same for philosophy of education. These components include metaphysics, epistemology, axiology, and logic. End of study session 6. Thank you for listening.